That's actually the first time I heard about the Tomb of Horrors.
Was Ready Player One. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. My favorite part about that, since we're just in a cold open, I'm gonna finish my conversation. No, I'm just kidding. But my favorite part about that I've been telling everybody in the group is that they had to change the opening of the Tomb of Horrors because it's actually the most profitable if you just steal the doors and leave. Because the doors were made out of adamantine and they're these huge, like, vault door type things. So people would just be like, oh, this is the Tomb of Horrors. I hear if we go inside, we die. But these are adamantine doors, so let's just take those and go retire rich.
And that was that adventure.
To While We Weren't Recording, where we're going to talk about The Princess Bride and be mad at Ben and Andreas for something.
I legitimately think this is the perfect movie. Like this, I have no serious qualms about this film.
I had never even heard of it before we started watching. So yeah.
I've never heard about it before.
Yeah. Andreas, did you watch this? Because weren't you the one that didn't watch this?
Yep.
Yeah. So did you? Good.
Yeah.
Good. What'd you think? You're the new blood here, so.
I really enjoyed it, and I can see why it's held in such high regard.
Here comes the negative part.
Right. Here comes the butt.
I excused the inconsistencies that it was like a fairy tale kind of story. So
what inconsistencies?
Well, the one that annoyed me the most, unless I completely misunderstood, it's clearly said the king dies. I'm the king now. Then later at the wedding, the king's alive.
Because it's a dream sequence?
Yes, she had a nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, that's why.
That's why the kid was even confused.
Right. Yeah, and he throws a big fit, right? Because it's like, wait a minute, she doesn't marry Humperdinck. You're reading it wrong.
Get the story right.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, it's like I don't often like that kind of fourth wall break in the narration and whatnot, but it's so good in this. Like, it only adds, in my opinion. And, just the idea, like, I started watching it when I was a child, so yes, I probably do have some rose-colored glasses in that regard. But yeah, like every time you're sick and it's like, yep, we're going to put on Princess Bride and Grandpa's going to read me the book now. So
I mean, I can definitely see, especially if you watched it as a kid, and especially if there's like a situation where you watched it, you were sick, and the kid is sick, and the grandpa's reading the story, then you have very fond memories of it. But right. I think it stands up very well on its own as an adult, and I mean it was really good. I thought the acting overall was great. I had the wrestler guy, right? He's not a great actor.
Andre the Giant.
Oh,
he's perfect for what he needs to be.
You shut your whore mouth.
But that's just.
Second of all, I 177% forgot about this.
It's only every Saturday, EG. Like we're recording something every Saturday.
Well, no, because they're doing, because the rain has prevented them from doing the air conditioners and stuff still, so they're here again. And I was like, I feel like I'm forgetting something.
Well, if you're forgetting about it, it's not important. So yeah.
Well, it's also the episode Ben is on, so I could have missed it.
Oh,
hey. Ben is
not very nice.
Thank you very much.
So, Andreas, to go back to what we really are at our core, which is Dresden nerds, did you notice the jokes that Dresden made?
Why didn't you list that among our assets? Yeah, I did notice that one. I remember that one very clearly.
So, there was...
Also, this movie is insanely quotable.
And yes.
There are a lot of quotes I have heard in other things that are definitely from this movie, or... They both took it from the same place before that, I guess. But it's I mean, it's from 1987, so.
Because Cold Days is the other big one, right? It's like, I'll most likely kill you on the morrow. You, a Princess Bride quote? What's that? Yeah. So.
The one that hit me watching it last night that I had completely forgotten or like acknowledged that was a reference at all was you rush a miracle worker, you get lousy miracles.
Yes.
And it's just like I had to pause. It's like, oh my God, I completely didn't notice that in Small Favor was a Princess Bride quote. I thought it was Dresden being Dresden.
Nope. Yeah,
Dresden being
it's
Dresden
great,
is stealing from other people.
That is also true.
also fair, yeah. But yeah, and it's funny too because like the Miracle Max scene, like that entire scene is
God.
quotable in my opinion, and it's one of the wife and I's like two main references where it's like if you get mildly frustrated or even if you're just like out of sorts for a second, one of them is like, if she just comes at you sideways, it's like, get back, witch. And she's like, I'm not a witch, I'm your wife. And the other one is Light of My Life from crap, I forgot now. The Shining. So when he like first starts to like lose it, he grabs the axe and he's like, Light of my life.
I have
like,
not
run.
seen The Shining, so
Oh, it's so bad. Like you got to watch it and just not take it seriously. Like that one has not aged well. Like I got nothing against it if you love it, blah blah blah, all of those things. At no point do I remember being even remotely afraid of it. Maybe like the red rum stuff started to get a little bit because it gets into the tropes. But yeah, not afraid of twins, not really afraid of fountains of blood. I'm just like, where'd all this blood come from? But that's not The Princess Bride. So anyway, and that one's not going on my perfect movie list. So.
Although I watched yesterday the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990, and I'm going to add that to the list because that movie is still a delight. That movie is a delight.
Yeah. I think my favorite part in that one is when he like hides up in the shower. And so like now every time I got to check the shower, like up, always check up, guys. Seriously. So is that a Jose Canseco bet? Anyway,
did you pay money for this?
So Princess Bride, seriously, we're gonna get I didn't see like quote but
like I was saying before I was told to shut my whore mouth. Overall the acting was stellar. There was like Princess Buttercup could have been any girl, I feel like. I didn't think she was great.
I think it really needed to have that kind of the beauty of youth and everything, and I think Robin Wright was perfect for it at the time.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's career best iconic performances from pretty much everybody: Fred Savage, Christopher Guest, Chris Sarandon, Mandy Patinkin, Andre the Giant, and maybe only Peter Falk has a somewhat more iconic role.
I didn't know who he was though.
Columbo.
I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah. Columbo's actually in color though, so that's closer.
So you latched on to Peter Falk, who was from the era of black and white, versus I know Robin Wright from other things after this.
Yeah, I know her from House of Cards, where she is really good. Like I hate her character. I'm supposed to hate her character, so
it's just like you latched on to the guy from the old stuff, and we can recognize.
Well, was Peter Falk in anything that was black and white?
In the pictures I saw last night, yes.
Oh,
the guy from Criminal Minds who just steals the scene whenever he's in there. The swordsman, the Spaniard.
Inigo Montoya.
Yeah.
Oh, Mandy Patinkin.
I'm not gonna try and say that.
Oh, okay. This is slightly off topic. Have you seen that meme about how The Princess Bride has a great mnemonic for professional introductions at conferences? You just say what like Inigo Montoya says. Yeah. I need a polite greeting.
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya.
So polite greeting and give your name, establish a relationship, and manage expectations.
You killed my father.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Yes.
It's a perfect way to remember how to introduce yourself at conferences. It's like that's amazing. But it's just a wonderful film. Just a wonderful film.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even some of the behind the scenes stuff, especially with Inigo and that sort of thing, like, we were talking a little bit before the show, but I didn't want to get too much into, obvious talking points and whatnot. But like his whole delivery of the whole, like him fighting the Count at the end, and he's drawing on past traumas because of his relationship with his dad and that sort of thing. And it's like, yeah, well, when I watched that as well, like I lost my dad, I think 2014, So it's just like, I want my father back, you son of a bitch. And then he stabs him. And I'm like, so I mean, we all wish we had that. So if you've been in that situation,
it's in an otherwise very lighthearted movie. It's a really it really gets you, right? Like it's a really intense scene.
Well, and I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? Like I've talked about this before, but just to kind of bring it up here as well, like part of why I think the movie is perfect is like, it doesn't get stuck necessarily in any one genre or story or trap. Like it's very clearly fantasy, but when you're talking about like, is it comedy? Yes. Is it action? Yes. Is it romance? Yes. And the best part is Grandpa sets you up for that because he discusses this. Like, what kind of book is it? It's got sword fighting and fencing and action and love and romance and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. It's like, yes, all of those things. So, I had a friend once ask me for a recommendation for an American film. And I'm like, well, what do you want? Do you want action? Do you want romance? Do you want comedy? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, well, you're going to watch Princess Bride because in addition to that, you'll probably get about 30% of my pop culture references. But, there
are some of the quotes that I've also heard, like, I'm sure I've heard the other things like, never go against a Sicilian or however it is.
Death is on the line, yeah, right.
Yeah. Right. One of the classic blunders, so, yeah.
The most famous of which is never get into a land war on age, but the only slightly less well-known than that.
Right. Which is pulled from a real quote, by the way, not the Sicilian part. That part gets added, but,
Well, that's why that one's the first one.
Right.
Which I was like, it's also like world building wise, I was like, so all these things on our Earth exist, but I get a feeling this is it's like a fantasy world kind of like a different world, but all the things from our world is there.
That actually really confused me when I was a kid because I knew that all of the fantasy, the giant eels, RUSs, like in Miracle Max and everything like that is just fantasy. So everything is fantasy, right? No, Sicilia is a real place. Australia is a real place, even if it's full of criminals. I think that sounded like just fantasy bullshit when I was a kid. Of like, Australia's not real. Why would there be a land of criminals? Jesus, that is real.
Australia's still not real to most people. So it works out.
They don't exist.
Yeah.
I watched this so young that like I had to learn all of the parts that were actually real, and it's like, oh, that was real.
Well, and it is such a great blend because like, even some of the countries referenced and some of the places they go to are real or at least have like very close analogs. And then you have the very clearly fantasy stuff. Like, I don't believe our OUSs exist, but
and that's immediately after he sees them. Immediately after he sees them.
Yeah, well, bravado, right? We're like, we're probably not about to get jumped. I'm safe saying this.
Products of a usual size? I don't believe they exist.
Right. Which, by the way, to your point, like that's one of the things that I caught, many years later after watching it as a kid, is that he sees the one and that he's basically like, nah, let's just keep walking, get out of here, and then gets jumped.
Maybe just consider those rodents of usual size.
Oh, he's trying to make sure she doesn't freak out. So he's just
He's like another year or two, and this guy's going to be a crewman on my ship. So, but no.
I thought the names were like wonderfully kind of ridiculous and whimsical in a way, but like I really liked it. The Princess Buttercup and what's the princess name?
Humperdinck.
I told you never to say that name. So.
And the Dread Pirate Roberts, where he's like, nobody's gonna be scared of the Dread Pirate Wesley.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was great. Good movie. Glad I watched it.
But you haven't used the P word though. So is there anything you would change?
Yeah, he just said Robin Wright because he's a human.
I wouldn't.
Well, okay.
I think there was. I don't know if I can say one on the top of my head, but if I look up who were actresses in 1987, I'm sure I can find someone I think was better than Robin Wright.
As we also discussed with Knight's Tale, right? You can't just go to like the top 10 actresses of 1987 and just put her in The Princess Bride because let's get past all the personal choice and they want to take the role anyway. Like, I don't see Madonna playing in The Princess Bride, right? You also got to consider like the budget and all of these other things, right? So yes, like maybe in some kind of Princess Bride fantasy world, you can pull that off, but like you got to find somebody, you know, with the same kind of star power to
the
slot in
obvious
there.
replacement answer is David Bowie
for
in the Princess Bride.
Yeah, for Princess Buttercup.
And let's not, you know, disregarding the social climate of the time, but like maybe if we redid it today, I could see that, you know.
The budget is.
Does he keep the bulge though from the Labyrinth? Is the real question.
Well, obviously, it's basically a loose sequel. If it came second, I don't remember which one came first.
So I guess one question I have is how much of a budget did this have?
$5.
Right.
Well, you think it has a lot of great sets, and even prosthetics. And yet it definitely leans in on this low budget charm where like I don't believe they exist, and it's literally just a guy going rah. It's not, and clearly the puppet is just thrown at him carelessly from off screen, from off camera. Like it's.
Well, if you believe Wikipedia, it was 16 million.
Yeah, I was going to say IMDb has that too, and its opening weekend it made $200,000.
Oh no!
Yeah. The total gross U.S. and Canada, and even worldwide, oh my God. So gross U.S. and Canada is 30, let's just call it 31 million. It's literally 857K, but the worldwide gross is only $5,000 higher. I got to imagine they like showed it in one theater in the UK or something. I can't imagine that certainly didn't make it to China.
Yeah, no, this was very definition of cult classic at the time.
Right.
Now, I don't think I'd categorize it that way anymore. Most cult classics aren't anymore.
To be a cult classic?
Well, I mean, sure, this Blade Runner. I mean, the 80s was probably the time where you had the blockbuster and then you had the cult classics. So there wasn't that much in between. But yeah, most cult classics aren't anymore. Everybody's either heard of them or knows about them or...
Holy shit, that was Billy Crystal?
Yeah. I will defend that this is his best performance, despite having some very big movies in his repertoire. Like
certainly my favorite of his.
Oh yeah, he's a bit much, but in this he's just enough. I think if there are any more Billy Crystal in this movie,
the background that the only real injury sustained on set was Mandy Patinkin's rib getting dislocated because he was trying not to laugh at Billy Crystal was great.
Great,
I believe it.
Or that even the director needed to go away so that they could shoot because he kept laughing too much that like it was hurting him.
That's probably why he was only in the one scene, because otherwise if he was throughout the movie, it would never have gotten made.
Yeah, they'd just be falling over laughing too much.
The Count, I'm just looking Christopher Guest here. I thought he really just, I mean, you just hated him almost from the word go, right? Like by looking at him.
Right.
That's got to be the saddest thing I've ever heard.
And he's so malicious. He's so deliciously malicious.
Right.
He's something, or is like he's writing a dissertation, or he's an expert on the subject of pain or whatever.
On a scale of now, remember this is for posterity.
Right.
Please be honest.
So this sucks the life out of you. Okay, that's
not to 50.
Director, just in case you're not clear, that is also fantasy as far as I'm aware. So we can't use.
I didn't know that when I was 3.
Out of you.
I mean, yeah.
You also can't use a whatever air fan that is to reinflate someone and get them to say they're dying.
Right.
It's a bellows. It's like, I mean, you could at least try to like clamp his nose down. You don't know it's not just go. Yeah, whatever.
He clearly said to blave.
Right. Fire. Yeah.
Just,
the whole thing. Like, he's only mostly dead. If he was all dead, we could only go through his pockets and look for loose change. So,
do you think it'll work? It'll take a miracle,
right?
I'll take a miracle.
Chocolate helps it go down easier.
But wait, at least an hour before going swimming.
Right.
The bluffing scene was awesome.
At the end.
Yeah, well, he bluffs the prince, and the prince is just like fine. Yeah. Backs down, and there's like, oh, he has no strength. I knew it. I knew you were.
Yeah, the performance of Prince Humperdinck was really kind of crucial for making this just fit. For like, the villain has to be villainous, but he also has to be cartoonishly stupid to match the rest of the setting.
Yeah, and a worm, right?
Yeah.
And so you get that, and you see like at first he's just got the bravado, right? And then as it keeps going on, he's like, I think he's serious. This is horrifying. Like, and you see the dawning over his face where he's just like, yeah, I'm not worth it. And then he's like, haha, I can stand up, which surprises even me. And no, I knew you were bluffing. Everybody knows you were bluffing. Come on.
Well, because he's supposed to be, at least by his own account, the smartest person in the friggin' world.
Right. Oh, yeah. So. A cool little detail, at least that's what I thought, because it's never really said, but how he's like, oh, this master tracksman who tracks her down. And in reality, he just hired the guy and knew the route, pretty much, right?
Well, and yet he recognized a couple things that he didn't plan, like the sword.
Yeah, he did recognize all those seeds, so I guess he was really good at it. But
he's definitely a good tracker, right?
And
Buttercup brings it up.
Right.
Buttercup brings it up when she's first, I guess, taken out, when she's first captured by Vizzini. Right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that he's a good tracksman. But
yeah.
That might just be bravado. And
well, I mean, what else is she gonna? As far as everyone's concerned, that's what he would prop himself up to be.
And it's nice that he wasn't just killed; he was defeated. He was shown to be a coward by a man who literally had nothing. He could literally do nothing, and it still managed to be smart enough to take him out.
Well,
if you think about it, it's almost like he's the final boss, because you have, just like in a video game, you have skill 1, skill 2, skill 3, but then all of them altogether are tested in front of the final boss. His sword play, his strength, his wit are all 3 elements that are in that final showdown with Chris Sarandon.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's a nice change of pace from a lot of other fantasy and just American media in general, where it's like the bad guy always has to die. It's not enough that he loses. Whereas like in this one, so he loses, right? But it's like, I mean, he's still going to be king, right?
Yeah.
He's still
probably going to get his
survive
of like starting a war.
Right. So, but he didn't get true love. So, there's that.
I mean, what else is the greatest thing in all the land? So. He's really got nothing.
The description of that kiss and then the actual on-screen kiss in the end, I was just like, didn't really live up to the description.
That's your unreliable narrator.
Yeah, I guess.
But I think that was kind of the point, That's why they did it like the shadowy silhouette, and then it's just like you kind of
use your imagination
yourself.
As a child, that is the most magical kiss you've ever seen. So, I don't know, Andreas, how many people do you watch Kiss? I'm just saying, like, how many people in True Love
do you want to check his browser history?
Nothing I can admit on air.
Does Sweden allow that kind of internet access?
Are you kidding? That's on like 6 o'clock, so they don't even have watershed.
It's public access porn.
As I don't live in Sweden, I can't.
Or as they call it over there, television. So, yeah.
They still use puppets because it's all government run.
Well, I mean, we've got the cartoon with the prehensile penis, so there's that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I have blocked it out of my mind.
You're welcome. So, speaking of which, Ben, did you have some other point?
Speaking of a prehensile penis, Ben, what do you got?
Right.
I think it's just an extremely charming film with a whole lot going for it. I wish I could be more. Here's one thing.
Disney made now. Yeah, I don't either.
Well, I love that this movie is so popular that when there's talk of a remake, there's open revolt that unites everyone on Twitter against it, whatever their political leanings. Everyone. It's quite consensus.
Taunting me with the idea of a remake of just like, so they're gonna have a kid playing Fortnite with the different hairstyles and everything, and I just like, I need you to shut up now.
Right.
That was too painful.
He's gonna be reading it. He's gonna be it's gonna be an audio book that's gonna play. It's not even gonna be a grandfather. He's just gonna plug in his.
It'll be like a recording.
Yep.
Right.
Like I was imagining of a kid just complaining of like, what? It's not on a Kindle, and it's just like, I need to stop. There's too much.
Well, I do think that you could. It's this weird movie because what genre is it? Like, is it really even a fairy tale or fantasy? There's no magic in it. It's just medieval.
It depends.
There's
Was
miracles.
the power of true
Yeah,
love?
was the miracle real, or was it, science?
Fantasy stories don't require magic, Ben.
Right, they require something that's just not real, which so like the ROUSs would kind of count, or the gigantic screaming eels that don't exist, that would count.
Or giants.
They were just, they were prehistoric and they got they survived. That's all.
The giants.
I think it's a subject we've talked about before. We've talked about like high fantasy, low fantasy, and
I was going to say
systems. Yeah, like,
this is clearly a low fantasy world, right? Because it's like
no, it's a high fantasy world.
But it's no, because high versus low is how different it is from our Earth, right? And since we're referring real people, real places, real everything else, like how different does it need to be? It's like if it's all Earth but the kingdom is different, that you're saying that's high fantasy?
I'm saying that I guess it could be low fantasy because it is on Earth, but it's an alter Earth. There's definitely things that are not on Earth, but there are references to other things that are on Earth. So I guess I
got a spoiler for you because all fantasies are on alternate Earths because we don't have magic or monsters or anything.
Yeah, but like for example, Dresden is portrayed to be our world, but there's
literally, but it's an alternate one. Yeah.
I know. So where I would say you're probably right. Not thinking about it that it's more low than high, but it's just the fact that there are countries on this earth that don't exist.
There seems to be two countries that don't exist, both of which their names seem to be references to Dutch. So Florin and Gilder, right? Their names seem to be references to currency in the Netherlands or ancient Dutch things. So this probably is supposed to take place somewhere in Northern Europe or the area between Sweden and Germany, apparently the writer said at one point.
Right.
It's right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. So, and as the director had to learn as a child, Australia is a real place. So
allegedly.
But and that was the thing. Like, I couldn't remember how close it gets, but yeah, like even Gilder and Florin are at least based, right? They're not. I don't know if there ever was a country or whatever, but also if you get to certain places like Germany, like how many countries did they have, before they were unified? So
it's like just somewhere in that northern area where it's got like hills and mountainish something or other, but also like swamp and water. So it sounds like Netherlands to me.
Well, but I mean, even like even the cliffs of Insanity, kind of are like the cliffs of Dover, maybe not in the correct geographical location, right? Because it would make it too much of a range. But it's like we got cliffs like that, so it gets all of those things where it's like, yeah, okay, the cliffs of Insanity were like bird height, right? They were like hugely high. It wasn't just like, okay, they're maybe a couple thousand feet or something, but you can kind of see the parallels still. So. Anyway, yep.
Yeah, so it's low fantasy, no magic actually. Well, I guess kind of magic.
There's a miracle.
There's a miracle.
The dude lights himself on fire. They clearly had a fire resist cloak.
Sucking life out of him. That's definitely magical.
Some kind of fantasy, something.
Low fantasy, low and like well, so there's no rules, so it's like a soft magic system.
Two ambidextrous swordsmen. I mean, that's just fantasy as far as it goes.
I am also not left-handed.
Right.
I saw that coming a mile away, but it was still good.
How are you not familiar with the quote?
The better line in that fight anyway is, "You seem a decent fellow. I hate to kill you. You seem a decent fellow. I hate to die."
Yeah.
Right.
That's pretty good.
Unless he stuttered his Agrippa, which I have.
So and when they're talking, when he's scaling the cliff, he's like, "How come you're not cutting the rope?" He's like, "That wouldn't be very sporting."
Right.
You focus so much on the quotes, Justin. How many of quotes in this movie are in the script/book, and how many are quotes like things from other?
Spoilers. I haven't read the book. My brother has, but
yeah. The book. I will say this is one movie where the movie is better than the book. The book is a pretty depressing movie it's a pretty depressing book that has a lot to do with how there is no such thing as a happy family or marriage. Everyone's just sort of miserable. All relationships are miserable. And this book that his grandfather or his father would read to him, he tried giving it to his son to reestablish a relationship with his son, but his son hated it. And then when he read it for himself, he realized his dad took out all the boring parts when he read it. Right. That's the only kind of, and there's a lot of quips, and not all of them land too.
Right.
Vizzini is really sold by Wallace Shawn. In the book, he's sort of just an idiot hunchback who thinks he's smart.
Right.
Right. No, he has to walk this line of semi-competent.
Right. So there's a lot in the book that I don't think works very well. But because it cuts, it's basically the best part. It's a good parts version. That's what he calls The Princess Bride. It's abridged by William Goldman, right? It's the good parts version. It cuts out the tongue-in-cheek, very bitter satire that the original Florin novel is supposed to be, and it's almost like a redacted version of this quote-unquote redaction, because it just is the parts that really land. It's a really tightly paced script. And William Goldman, he adapted a couple Stephen King novels that were very good for film. Misery, he did one of those. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he wrote that. He also was big in the 70s with a couple movies. One of them, probably the most famous, is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. It's in color. It has this ridiculous. I've heard of
this one, but it has this ridiculous historical song. Figures.
Well, shit, me and Ben like a movie actually like the same. Holy shit, that's a thing. And it's in color too.
I don't know if I would say I like that. It's a famous movie. It has good parts.
You don't like it? Come on.
It's fine. Anyway, but so William Goldman's like this and he wrote a bunch of memoirs that were very telling too. So William Goldman's an all-time great screenwriter, but his novel's not that great. But in this, he really lands it. I think most people agree.
Yeah. One of the things I liked about in the trivia was when he was on set at one point and they were doing the fire swamp thing. And so when her dress caught fire, even though he wrote everything and he knew it was supposed to take place, he was so caught up in the moment that he ruined the take by yelling, "Her dress is on fire," and somebody please help her.
Oops.
He did Dreamcatcher. That's cool. Not a great movie, but I kind of liked it. So
I like it. It's not a perfect movie. I'll get.
No, yeah, God, no.
Yeah, but
thank goodness we can all agree on that.
Right. I like some of the tropes that got brought in, but also just the new and different. The shit weasels is a step too far. Come on. No. But other than that,
that's a good part.
It was a neat way to present an alien invasion that nobody knew about. Secret war stuff and whatever. So
I'd say what really shines in that movie is the cast, right?
In Dreamcatcher.
Dreamcatcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the later part of his career. He had actually fallen out of favor in the 80s, and this Princess Bride and Misery were kind of his comeback.
Also, if we're doing tangents, Sam Rockwell was in the original TMNT movie.
That I didn't realize.
That's not a tangent. That's a Hail Mary, dude. You were like...
I brought it up before, so I'm counting it as a tangent.
That's not a tangent. That's
not
how conversations work.
Right. That's exactly how our conversations work. What are you talking about?
You can't bait it. Come on.
What are you baiting it? It's true.
Yeah.
People need a reason to watch.
Princess Bride. We haven't talked about all of the individual fight scenes. We kind of talked about the duel a little bit. Love the fights with a giant as well. Because it's a great twist on expectations, right? You've got the whole thing with Vizzini, well, how do I fight him? When his head is in view, hit it with a rock, and then he blows his chance basically to just kill him in one shot because he wants the honorable fight, and then realizes he gets in over his head because it's been such a long time since I've just fought only one person. Well, why should that make such a difference? Just the whole thing, where he basically just wrestling with this guy, and then we were talking about earlier, I think EG, you were saying, it's by his own proclamation, he's the smartest man. It's I don't know about that, but he did beat the best swordsman, the biggest giant, and the smartest guy, in the movie, right? So,
Oh, I was talking about the prince in that instance, but
yes. Oh, I got you. Yeah.
I liked Inigo Montoya's like, look, so he beat me and he beat you. We have to assume that he beat Vizzini. Therefore, he is the genius. We will fight him.
Yeah.
Go away, or I'm going to call the brute
these
squad.
My two friends and
you are the brute squad.
You are the brute squad.
Right.
He must have outthought the Vizzini. And a man like that can plan a way through anything.
Right. Well, in their chemistry, right? Inigo and Fezzik, where it's just like with the rhyming, you know.
Yes.
So when he shows up and you haven't even necessarily see him, but you see the giant hands just grab him, like, you sure are a meanie, you know. Like, I told you, I'm waiting for a Vizzini.
Fezzik like, took great care in bringing his friend back to health. Like,
don't.
That's enough. That's enough.
The description of nursing him back to health makes it sound like he was in a coma when he was just drunk. It's like, okay, he needs food and water and sleep, and that's all. And then he's good. And so he got food and water, and then apparently he doesn't need sleep, whatever.
Considering how long he'd been searching for the count, he took the information quite well. He passes out in his suit.
Right.
Let me explain. No, there's
two.
Let me sum up.
When Wesley wakes up, he's like, "Who are you? Are we enemies?"
Yeah,
just like that, and then like his head flopping around.
But he still says, "Where's Buttercup?" Oh,
yeah. Like, he still remembered her, but not anyone else.
Yeah, of course.
You just move your head. That doesn't make you happy.
Yeah,
when he has to,
his sword, your strength, and my brains against 30 men, and you think a little head wiggle is going to make me happy?
When he has to move his arm up for like the them putting the hands on each other, he's like,
right.
I wish we had a Holocaust cook. What did you get?
Yeah, that is totally a line that I never noticed from before last night. It was like a Holocaust cook. He just referenced the Holocaust. How did he do? That's not fair.
Yeah.
Wait, are those cloaks from the literal Holocaust? I thought. Are you sure it's not just being burnt offering?
I mean, Holocaust is an older word and concept, isn't it? But yeah. So, but that's why they use that word for World War II, because it's the closest thing we got. And let's not add so far to that. Thank you very much. But yeah. So, but I mean, just the whole where the hell did you get that? Well, I saw it in the closet. It just fits so well. He just gave it to me. So. Yeah,
I found these 4
white horses, and I figured there's 4 of us.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. They're like, but when we find the lady, there will be 4 of us. Hello, lady.
Fezzik, you used your brains.
So, like, all these characters have pretty decent motivations, like with the Ren safest girl, and then there's the guys who's like, I just want to help my buddy. Like, he has no reason to do any of it other than I just want to help.
Really nice. He when he was fighting, and it's like I've only ever fought in groups, so like I was fighting off gangs for charity. He's always doing like the helpful, kind thing that he could do with his giant strength.
Right. I mean, you could just imagine the job interview with Vizzini. It'd be like, do I have to hurt anyone? No, but you got to climb this giant rope up the cliffs of insanity. Yeah, I could probably do that. So.
Yeah, I thought you were supposed to be strong. Well, I am carrying 3 people.
Yeah, he's only got himself.
Yeah. Give us the gate key. I have no gate key. Does it rip his arms off? Oh, you.
This
gate key. Yes, really
good. Talking about the cliffs reminded me of movie. Right. It reminded me of the whole no one knows we're coming this way, right? Yeah, it would be utterly inconceivable. Out of curiosity, why do you ask? Well, I just looked back and it seems like somebody's following us.
You keep using that word.
I think that word means what you think it means.
Yeah.
Inconceivable. Also a great quote. Jesus.
Yep.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of quotes I've heard in other places that I did not know was from this movie.
Why do you think it didn't? Why was it such a flop initially and became the cult classic?
I'm going to blame marketing without knowing anything about it.
I mean, that's always a good safe bet. Yeah, because John Carter, right, is the gold standard for that, in my opinion. Yeah, at least John in the last.
Also a bad movie.
That's not a very good movie, man.
It wasn't as bad as it did, though, right? It could have been done more people should have seen it. It was the Hollywood, or not Hollywood specifically, but like Disney exec being a tard about it. But like that's a big one, right?
I think it was probably about as bad as Jupiter Ascending, and nobody saw that either. So
no, not even close. But
anyway, I mean, we can't even pin a genre on this specifically. So I mean, how's a studio executive gonna, or a marketing person?
It's not that important, right? Like, why would you get hung up on the genre and be like, well, shit, I can't market it because I don't know what it is. Like, just fucking roll the tape.
Listen,
because that's what marketing people.
You're thinking like a human and not like a marketing person who has a completely different mindset for some.
Has to also has to hit like lowest common denominators, right? So as many people.
Right, he's got to hit everyone. That's why groups and categories are a thing in the first place.
Yeah, I think the challenge would be, like what do you focus on? Like what would you portray, I guess, right? Because it's like you're not going to be able to fully capture the humor in a 2 or 3 minute trailer, right? It's because another one that, from, a little bit more recent history that is the same problem to me is like it's Emperor's New Groove, right? Like how the fuck did you pull this off? Because like none of these elements look like they make a delicious, amazing cake at the end of the day. Wonderful. And yet here we are. And then B, like, well, how would you even describe this to sell this to someone? You don't. You just tell them, we're going to watch one of the best movies ever, and then you put it on.
It's a Disney animated movie back when Disney made good animated movies.
Did you see that?
It's inexplicable.
You were talking about Emperor's New Groove the other like last week or the week before, and I linked the Wikipedia article. Did you check that out? There was like a documentary.
That movie's on our list. We will talk about that when we get to that movie. It's on our list of perfect movies, and it belongs there.
That's very, very interesting story.
Emperor's New Groove. Oh yeah, absolutely.
When we watch that movie, we should also watch that documentary because it's actually super interesting. What I read in the article.
Yeah, what's interesting about the story of it, I think, is that it basically was a train wreck in development and then still somehow came out.
Train wreck.
That's what it was. Like, it's nothing like what they pitched. It's nothing like what they planned. Yeah, and then they got what they got.
Yeah, I think it's probably supposed to be more of the Pocahontas route, right?
No, much more Lion King-ish is what I read.
I just meant a little more on the serious tone, less what it was.
Maybe, yeah. It's supposed to be very musically, like the Lion King, kind of like lots of.
Thank God that didn't happen. I mean, the animated musicals have their time and place, but I mean, they don't need to all be that. And this would have suffered immensely from having songs in it, I think.
Do you think maybe?
Did you watch the movie? It starts out with a song.
Right. That one song sets the tone, but after that, you don't need more. You don't need Pacha sitting. You don't need John Goodman singing a song when he finds out his home's going to be destroyed while he's sitting on the mountainside.
Don't forget Krunk's theme song.
Right. He was unconscious for that, so yeah. I now that I think about it, I could totally see the scene where like they get drenched in the river and he's trying to build the fire, and then
they both have the competing song about their point of view.
No, I was just going straight for the like, you've got a friend in me. So, just I could see that in the background while they're looking at each other like, maybe we are cool. I don't know. Anyway, Princess Bride. So
yeah. There's something that I really enjoy about this movie that I'm realizing I enjoy in a lot of other things. So I have recently watched as much as I possibly could of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and that walks this weird line of it's tongue-in-cheek and it's serious at the same time. And so it's really weird and stupid, but they take that stupid very seriously. And that's exactly the same thing that they do with The Princess Bride. It's like the whole, like, I kept pausing it, just like, that is a character from JoJo. That is a thing that they would do in JoJo. They would take that stupid thing so absolutely seriously, like the Vizzini thing, like he switched it, he's so smart, aha, and then he just keels over and dies mid laugh. I really like those things, and I've only recently found them.
Have you watched One Punch Man?
Yes.
Similar vein, right?
The One Punch Man is satirizing, parody of anime, and since I know all those tropes, yes, it's still really funny. But it's not the same as JoJo.
Okay. I haven't watched JoJo, but I feel like the way you explained it, how it like takes these jokes but takes them very seriously. I kind of feel
It
like that's
takes
kind of
its
describes
own
One
jokes
Punch Man.
to like overly seriously. It takes its own things very seriously. It's not doing a reference joke.
Okay.
But it is good.
Do you think a reason why it flopped back then, Princess Bride, is because it was the late 80s and fantasy movies were kind of on a downward trend at that time, from what I remember?
Willow wasn't Willow pretty big? Or am I just
I don't
completely
know.
spazzing
I
on
mean, big compared to this, sure, but I don't recall Willow
Right.
being any
I mean, there's
particular-
also, I guess there's a bunch of Star Wars movies and Star Trek movies at the time. There's
know
a bunch
that,
of adventure movies. I think
I don't know if
Indiana
it was
Jones was huge. That's more like
maybe that's more because it was a pirate movie, but there was like a pirate movie that was, I'll say, it's also very fantasy-esque.
the Goonies
that
was
kind of
big.
tanked back then. That, oh my god, can you hear that? In my background. Okay, fine. You can't hear it. Great.
Yeah.
My roommate is just laughing very loudly.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let me see, what was the
I don't know
movie
what the context would be for like what's big, but yeah, Willow had like twice the budget and barely twice the earnings, like just under
Cutthroat
twice
Island.
the earnings.
That's
but,
what it was called.
Yeah.
Well, all pirate movies since Errol Flynn have failed up until Pirates of the Caribbean, pretty much.
Well, and the
Like,
Goonies.
are we?
Okay,
I was going to say, like, are we counting Goonies?
No, Goonies is just 80s coming of age story, so I don't really count
Yeah,
that as
that's
among
fine.
pirates,
I've
just
never
because it had a
actually seen the
pirate ship.
Goonies.
Pirate ship, pirate treasure,
Also, I don't like the Goonies. It's overrated.
Superman.
Never seen it. I have no intention of watching
Don't
it.
bother. It's not that
Are you
good.
just gonna let EG slide on that one, Justin?
I'm used to him having these weird wonky
So
takes.
you're not
I guess.
used to
I
me
don't
not
know,
having
but, like,
seen things that are before my time?
No, you were not so different. It's like, come on, your childhood and my childhood
No,
are
We're
my
not so
childhood-
different, you and I.
similar.
My
Like, I know, right? You know, I'm
my
something of a
childhood was
scientist
I was
myself,
given
but-
Aliens, Terminator, Volcano, and Princess Bride. Princess Bride was like the
and
happiest movie.
Goonies, and Goonies, and The Sandlot. Like, you
No.
grew up when that shit came out. I mean, Goonies was still before you were born
But
by
no,
a few
so-
years, but Sandlot.
Next thing you're gonna
right?
say you didn't
Like,
watch The Lost Boys.
The fuck is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
What?
The Lost Boys is the Lost Boys is the prequel to Dusk Till Dawn, so you can go watch those too.
That doesn't
Lost
seem to
Boys
fit
is-
in the theme of Goonies and Sandlot.
Well, no, they're
Actually,
all
there is a vampire. No, I'm just kidding.
It's like a
they're
like
general kids, teenagers, coming of age story stuff.
Yeah.
That's
and
the
it's
vein
like from
it
the same
fits in.
era. And you didn't watch The Breakfast Club either, then I guess.
I have seen The Breakfast Club.
Oh god.
Yeah,
Breakfast Club is
The only
another
part of the
overrated
Breakfast
movie.
I'm
Club
pretty
I've ever
sure
seen.
girls come pre-programmed with that shit. So, like, you know,
Breakfast
It's a
Club?
great
16
movie.
Candles.
Yeah, I was gonna
Breakfast
say
Club,
16
whatever,
Candles
like-
is your girls one.
What's
that's
16
pre-programmed.
Candles?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's the other Molly Ringwald and all of that movie.
Other Rat Pack movie.
I only know that it was a reference on Community, but I didn't even know what it was a reference of.
There was like this whole. There was things all the same director or something, and it's almost all the same actors.
Yeah,
and
it
they did
was,
like 3 or 4 movies.
I mean, yeah. I'm not even gonna. Now I want to go through the 80s and be like, what about this? What about this? What about?
I
I've turned
Hughes.
into Ben.
That's
You've
who it
made me
was.
Ben. That's what's happened. So.
Breakfast
it
Club
was-
is
Would that be
a
so
movie that
bad?
holds up to this day. It might even be a perfect movie.
Sorry, what?
No,
Yes.
it's sufficiently outside of my. No, thank you. So, yeah, just that's all I got.
The
But
fact that
but the
movie
Goonies-
ends without the principal getting punched in the face is not a perfect movie. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's still the 80s. You know,
It's not the principal.
I'm sorry.
Well,
In
Ben,
Ferris
are you on
Bueller's
my
Day
side?
Off, he got the shit kicked out of him.
another thing I've never seen.
but not. That's
How do you feel about the Breakfast
more
Club?
different, though.
I just
So,
want to
That's
have, I want to
Have you
have
seen
them on
that?
my side.
So just
Yeah,
have what's their face come in and high kick
Club
him.
or- The only
Well,
John
like-
Hughes movie I've ever seen is Uncle Buck. Isn't that a John Hughes movie?
Maybe that's a decent movie, Uncle Buck.
He's the guy who did all those John Hughes movies. He's a
Best
director.
Times at Ridgemont High. I never saw that one.
Never saw that.
Well, we've out talked to Princess Bride. Now we're just going to do this. You know this. Is
I will
See,
agree
this is how
that it's-
digression works. So, why don't you try and get Ninja Turtles in there again? So, like,
I don't have to. I've got it twice, and we've now agreed to put it on the list. My job is done.
What
We
is
have not agreed
the
to put
old
that
ninja,
up.
the old Ninja Turtle
I
movies?
second it. The motion passes.
See?
It's got to go to the floor for a
What?
vote now.
The old Ninja Turtle movies.
Why?
They're so
1990
bad.
Ninja. First of all, it's
What's
free on
bad about
YouTube
it?
right now. Go watch it again. Don't you dare.
They're
Yeah,
I
all
great.
never
terrible. There's
cared
not a
about
good
Ninja Turtles
movie.
ever
Well,
growing up.
hang on. Turtles in
Because
Time.
you're a little
I'll defend
girl.
Turtles in Time.
Well, I haven't. The other two I don't think are free, so I haven't rewatched them yet. But this was on a whim.
there
I was
two?
watching
Aren't there
something else. It came up in the
I thought there were
recommend.
4 of them total.
There were just the 3.
We're not
They
counting. We're not
remade
counting the
one
new
of-
ones. Yeah.
Yeah, the new ones are not whatever. They
Gotta
might
be
have had an
fucking
animated
kidding me.
movie
Like,
back
honestly.
in the whatever when the cartoon was out, but it was the 3. It was the Secret of the Ooze was I think the second one, and then Turtles in Time.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen those in forever.
Yeah.
Well,
The first one
Cartoons are
is-
good.
There's the
I
link.
watched the cartoons.
Everybody go watch it. Have fun.
Hopefully, it'll
Here's the
still be
movie
streaming
I'm
in 2
thinking
weeks
about.
when that's our topic. So
And I can't watch it because I'm where I live.
Use your friggin'
do you have a VPN? Come on.
Yeah, seriously.
I do.
I
have a
mean-
VPN, yes.
So use it.
Are
It's free. You don't have to pirate it. I'm literally giving it to you for free.
No,
it's technically piracy because it's region locked, right? So all of that shit is stupid. So anyway,
Besides, if it's the movies I'm thinking about, and I think it is, they're not good.
You
it's
have
amazing.
to understand how wrong you are, as per usual.
Wow.
This is one of the last great movies of like the Jim Henson puppet stuff, because after that they started fading it out for all the animated things.
Yeah, thank God.
Well, yeah, this is.
You don't like what you got against Muppets? Yeah, Muppet.
Fuck Muppets.
Although,
Never
oh yeah,
liked Muppets.
that was another
Like,
good.
do we have time?
That was another good pirate movie, Muppet Treasure Island. I forgot about that one.
Right?
Oh, that's completely sold by what's his face? You know what I'm talking about?
Big face, baby eating O'Brien.
What?
That was the character name.
Was it? I was thinking of what was it? Tim Curry.
Now there's an actor. Man, what can that guy do?
My wife and I have been watching a lot of Psych recently. It's kind of funny because both Tim Curry and Carrie Ewells have important parts in Psych. It's pretty funny to me.
There's this Terry Pratchett movie with Tim Curry in it that could have been good. Like the casting's good, but it's so low budget.
Hey, low
does
budget
that
on its
matter?
own isn't a bad thing.
Right.
It's just that, I mean, it doesn't work. But the casting is really good. I don't know. There's just maybe
The Color of Magic. Is that what you're looking at?
probably.
They did a live
I just
action of
vaguely
that?
remember it.
It's a mini series. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm
So-
thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's even got the actor, right? So the Rincewind. So
Who's Rincewind?
it's got Jeremy Irons and Sean Astin. I'm watching this.
Yeah, I
I
might
don't
need
even
to watch
know.
this now.
Like, what do you mean
Yeah,
low
like I said,
budget? When did this? It came out in 2008. Like those guys got paid
What?
money, unless it was a tax write-off. Like, yeah.
Huh.
It looks very low budget.
Brian-
Let me say it like that then. But I
Wait,
mean,
low-
it
Brian
is.
Cox narrates it. Christopher Lee is fucking death. Like, I'm watching this movie.
Jesus,
so-
I need to watch this.
All right,
I love
Mr.
that
What movie
book.
is this?
Color Magic miniseries, I guess. It's
Right.
Huh.
It's got David Bradley in it. Yeah, I feel like I've even seen this one because it's like there's no way, like, because I knew David Bradley did Conan the Barbarian, so maybe I started this. It was like on Amazon Prime or something.
That character.
Yeah, or
I
maybe
need
it
to
was
start
another
looking at
related
the-
one. But
All the Terry Pratchett books. I wanna read those. See if it's something for me.
Nothing
At least a
stopping
couple of them.
It's the equivalent of One Punch Man for fantasy.
Yeah, I get it's very. I've seen Daniel Green talk about them a lot. He really likes them. It's absurdist, right? That's what he
Yeah,
calls it.
it's so
Absurdism.
like Hitchhiker's Guide
Guide
flavor
for fantasy.
for like lampooning fantasy tropes is really good.
I don't know where to start. There's so many, like, it's all one
I
world,
started
but
with
there are a lot
Color of
different
Magic,
series.
and I loved
It's
it.
not very. I considered it, and I googled it, and it's not very recommended to start there.
I don't know why, because it was a great book, and
Color
I
of
loved
Magic?
it. And yes, right. I haven't read the other books yet that people say to start on, so I don't know why they say to start on it.
Yeah, it's
I thought
usually what
Color
I've
Magic was
read
great.
is Guard, or is Mort. I think it's called the first of the death books.
It's not very representative of the rest of the series, and Rincewind is not a very good character.
He's a great character.
So how many?
In what way was he a bad character? He was exactly what he needed to be.
He didn't have any of the. He didn't play as a character. He wasn't playing to Terry Pratchett's strengths, I would say.
But it sounds like you've read like a lot of them. Or
Oh yeah, I've read. I stopped about 40 books in.
Why did you stop at that point?
I think
life.
I think summer was over. I think is what it was. I had to get back to doing what I was normally doing.
There's like 41 books. You're like one book off.
Oh, maybe I only got 35 books in. I stopped at the last few. They started getting a bit samey towards the end too. They're enjoyable.
Yeah, I was considering starting at Mort because that was highly recommended, but I don't know. That's the first one about death or something.
I don't know if that's accurate since Death is a character. I thought Mort was a different character, but
yeah, Mort is like Death's apprentice or something, but it's like in the book series about with Death in them, where he's like the focus, but you see him through Mort's eyes or something, along those lines.
I thought Color Magic was great.
Well, since we're all gonna watch,
I thought, okay, this is gonna sound wrong because it's still a really good book, but I thought Stormfront was really good until I read Mort Dresden.
Sure, but that's to a certain extent. I would say start with the bad book and then go into the great ones.
But then you might not get there because, like, okay, I don't like this. Put it down.
If you liked the bad book, you'll like the rest of them.
Here's the other counterpoint too, Andreas, that's gotten me into a couple of other series and TV shows. If the dude published 35 to 41 books, it's probably not because they were shit. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's not a universal rule, right? But that carried me through like a lot of Supernatural. Because it's like, if we're on season 9, then it's got to be worth something.
How far are you in Supernatural now?
I don't know, 6 or 7, I think. Before, like, we were caught up in real time, and it just was not like, episode of the week, like, worthy in my mind.
It sounds like you drop off where it also gets bad. It has like
it was pretty
up
bad,
to 5, which is the best. Like 1 to 5 is the best.
Yeah.
Then it goes really far down.
Yeah,
and then it climbs up again.
I think we had so spoilers, just in case you're worried about like 5-10-year-old TV that is now actually finished. But I think it fully jumped the shark for me when they like kicked the angels out of heaven and like the angels turned into like assassins and shit. And I'm like, why? We fought everybody. We fought all the vampires. We fought all the werewolves. We fought all the primordials. We fought all the whatever. We fought the demons. Now we're fighting angels. Like, where the fuck do we go from here? And then there's still like 5 more seasons.
Do you want to? Okay, can I? Do you not care about spoilers for it?
I can't see how. Like, I actually watched like the last 5 or so episodes because my buddy was watching them, so I know like how it culminates. Which that's a recent.
You know who they end up fighting? Then?
Yes, yeah.
In the end, which is really where I guess the only logical conclusion to where it could go with the escalation.
Yeah,
where it goes.
Right. I feel like they handled it decently well, for what it was. But yes, like.
I mean, I was really emotionally invested in that show because I watched it since I was a teenager. So that last episode, even though because of COVID and stuff, they really didn't get the ending they wanted, I still cried like a lot.
Gotcha.
Did you carry on your wayward son?
Dude, right? Whenever that song, it gets me right in here.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Every time.
It was funny, too, because I had just caught up on the last season, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago for the first time. Because it was something me and my brother watched. He's in Florida now, so we just never got around to it. And I was like, well, I've got a few days. I have nothing to watch really. I'll just blow through this. And then it was like the last 10 minutes of the last episodes, and Netflix cut out, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Wow, yeah, that's rough.
So I just went on YouTube to look up the last, scenes, whatever.
It's on Prime for me. If you have Prime.
Well, it wouldn't matter.
All
It
the
was the
seasons?
internet.
The whole internet went away.
Thanks to Netflix.
I did say Netflix, but yeah, I mean, yes, it was.
Chuck's over there cackling to himself as he banishes the entire internet for the season finale of Supernatural.
It was too perfect. It was because I had paused like 3 times to go do something, and it was just too perfect. It was like, I audibly said, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Okay, so spoilers for people who are listening and don't want to know some stuff about Supernatural. It sounds like everybody here pretty much knows. The bad guy, and I'll try to be vague here. I won't say who it is, but Sam and Dean are basically getting punished, so they're alone in the world. There's nobody else, and this bad guy is so petty that he like conjures up a dog to lift their spirits, and they're like, "Oh, he missed a dog," and then he takes it away again. It's so petty.
Dude, the meta sense in that they find out that he takes away their protagonist plot armor. I was like, that amused me immensely.
That was really good.
Right.
It was like, you're literally the heroes of a story. When do you ever see the hero have to deal with petty shit like cavities or filling up their car with gas?
Right.
Like, no, he took away your plot armor.
Yeah, which I thought was great because I hated when they introduced, that level of meta. I was like, yeah, that shit, I don't know, it's just never resonated with me. But they actually make good use of it by the finale as well, though. So, towards the end, it kind of grows on me a little bit, but just the concept in general is just like, The
biggest crime of that show, apart from the fact that no matter how much I love it, it went on way too long, was getting rid of original Death, because he was probably the best character.
He was great.
One of the best incarnations of Death you're going to get. He eats junk food. He's very serious, but also kind of easygoing in his way. It's just like...
That first introductory scene of Death is some of the best TV moments I've ever seen. It's so good. With the song and the wall. It's just...
He just brushes his shoulder and the dude's like, nope.
Dude drops it's so good.
I'll have to watch it because other than maybe Christopher Lee, the best Death is from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, right? So obviously,
if you've ever read the Sandman comics, there's a pretty good Death in that too.
Yeah.
I should check out the Audible version. I heard it's good.
Oh, Sandman,
best 4 out of 7.
It's a comic book.
Yeah, but it's been translated into an audiobook with Neil Gaiman. They work together on it.
How could you possibly be making this face when we had the discussion about if they remake Princess Bride, it's going to be an Audible book kid reading it, listening to it.
Oh.
They do everything. They have no reverence.
Some of the great things about the Sandman is the art.
No, you will suffer and deal with this in this new world.
I don't like this new world.
Well,
nobody likes this
the
new
comic
world,
book might be good too, and I could check out the comic book. But it's a lot easier to use an Audible.
You know what you should do? You should buy the comic book with no words, listen to the Audible, and then just flip the pages through the pretty pictures at your leisure.
Oh.
Really?
I don't know.
That's some Sideshow Bob shit right there. Did you see that? A villain was just born.
Oh,
Ben, is the comic in colors? Because otherwise, I didn't think you would like it.
Oh, come on!
What's wrong with black and white? I mean, in terms of comics, I was like, black and white's just fine. I read manga though, but I'm weird. So
it's funny because Ben likes.
I read a lot of manga, so that's all black and white.
All right, so we did a good episode. We had some stuff about the Princess Bride in there. It was
half of the discussion of Princess Bride was basically just restating the quotes. So
that's the only conversation anyone ever has about Princess Bride.
It's so quotable.
You know how many podcasts we could look up right now where they talk about the Princess Bride and all it is quoting the movie?
Yeah.
And it would be
You're
all
right.
of them.
Let's
100%.
Let's discuss the world building and the destabilization that would have happened by a war between Gilder and Florin. Let's also talk about how it would have destabilized the country if he had killed his father in the middle of the night just so that he could, get the crown 2 weeks earlier or
terrible.
The economics
he's
of wishes.
A ruler and all but name anyway, because the father's a complete god.
Right.
Oh, you kissed me. I'm gonna commit suicide. You kissed me.
I'm gonna after you leave me, I'm gonna throw myself out the window.
Wouldn't that be
That's nice, dear.
She kissed me.
Right. Oh man.
Marriage swings us.
Marriage is what closes this episode today.
And wow,
Wow.
Man and wife, say man and wife. All right, we're done. Somebody plug something.
We're done. End the show.
Do we want to plug anything?
Yeah, the other podcast people like more.
Yeah, come watch us next week
BrokenJaws.xyz.
when we muddle through
Patreon.
Merlin a second time.
Yeah, Merlin and Merlin adjacent things.
Right.
Somewhere in there.
Go
We have
away,
a super
or we will
active,
Arthurian
Discord
time
community.
second time.
Full of a bunch of
You can
fucking nerds.
Yeah, you, director of the nerds.
As I actually put that on Twitter. It's like, our Discord is full of a bunch of nerds, and I found it somewhere in Simpsons, which seemed fitting of Homer getting out of the car to say, nerd! And it's like,
Right.
so fitting.
Right. Yeah, come to the
wanna get
Discord
that
where
joke.
we'll convince you to watch Futurama or The Simpsons or South Park for some reason. Yeah,
South Park.
Did you missed the conversation?
you missed the whole thing, my dude.
If only it was still in text form, waiting there for you to read
I
it,
don't-
you're sure.
That's
With
why I
gifs.
didn't chomp on
I
it.
found
so many
gifs.
Wall of text.
Yeah, we haven't
And I'm
introduced
just
the
not about
Audible
it.
of our
Yeah,
Discord
the
yet.
Audible
It's coming
plugin for Discord.
once we bump up that Patreon.
Read to you
well,
by
look
James
out.
Marsters.
Ben's going to narrate every conversation in the Discord. He's going to do voices.
Exactly.
Nice.
But you have to voice the gifts.
Yeah, obviously.
Nerd.
Ben could do it. I believe in him.
You have to make sure you attribute it, so it's like, Andreas said, and then Andreas.
I'll just use different voice. Well, I don't know. I live in Denmark, not Finland.
That's your Andreas voice. I was gonna ask.
Spot on.
And that's my Jacob. That's my Jacob voice.
I'm done sticking up for Ben. That's for sure.
Alliances are dead.
No.
The two outlaws turn on each other.
No.
The attempt to be funny has left
That's-
you scarred and deformed.
Not nearly Swedish chef enough to work for him anyway. So I'm like,
Audible.
gotta go to my IKEA to buy a couch.